afternoon and welcome. Welcome to the heart of West Baltimore. My name is Kiefer Mitchell. I'm a senior advisor for Governor Hogan. Senior advisor for Governor Hogan, and the free time that he gives me, I'm a city resident. It's great to be here in the city today, where I had the privilege of serving as a member of the Baltimore City Council, representing the Coppin Heights area, and of the House of Delegates. I want to start by taking a moment to acknowledge and thank some of the governor's cabinet and the other elected officials who have joined us here. Sitting with us in the front, we have our mayor, Mayor Pugh. We have our housing secretary, Secretary Ken Holt. We have our new Secretary of Commerce, Secretary Kelly Schultz. We have our Lieutenant Governor, Boyd Rutherford. And of course, we have our Governor, Governor Larry Hogan. Cabinet members that are here, we have Secretary McCord of Planning, Secretary Ryzbowski of the Department of Labor, Licensing and Regulation, Secretary Padilla of Human Services, Secretary Fielder of Higher Education, and we have our Superintendent of Maryland Schools, Superintendent Karen Salmon. And we also have our Chairman of the Maryland Stadium Authority, Mr. Tom Kelso. We also have our Chancellor, Chancellor Corrett of the University of Maryland System. And the elected officials that we have here, Senator-elect Antonio Hayes, whose district we're in, Senator Bill Ferguson, Senator Shirley Nathan Pulliam, who just joined us, Delegate Keith Haynes, who's here, and we also have Councilman John Bullock and Councilman Leon Pinkett, who's here. I want to take a moment to thank Osprey Property Company for hosting us here at Walbrook Mill. Walbrook Mill is a $29 million project that is home to one of Governor Hogan's signature initiatives, Project CORE. This location is also a great example of the success that can come from investing in Maryland Opportunity Zones. This high-impact project offers mixed-income, multifamily rental apartments, a food hall offering healthy food options in a food desert, and adaptive reuse to promote workforce development. Today's announcement will allow the state to continue its commitment to attract new businesses and development in all regions of Maryland. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our Governor, Larry Hogan.
Thanks, Phil. You did a good job. Wow. Wow, thank you all so much. What an exciting day. I can't believe the crowd we have. I want to thank all of our cabinet and all of our elected officials for showing up. I can't remember a time when we had so many people come out for an announcement, so you can tell it's a pretty exciting announcement, and we're all, I think, really excited to be here this afternoon. This is an exciting announcement with lots of parts, so we're going to try to get through it, try to keep up, because there's a lot of moving parts to this one. But through our Project CORE initiative in partnership with the city, we have already removed more than 2,100 blighted properties all across Baltimore City. And we're on schedule to eliminate more than 4,000 buildings by the end of this year. In addition, in addition to these strategic demolitions, We have also used state tax dollars, to leverage more than $630 million for redevelopment projects in Baltimore City. And right here at Walbrook Mill, as Kiefer talked about some of the excitement here, we're going to be transforming this site into a vibrant community hub, which will include 140 new apartments and townhomes, 9,000 square feet of retail and commercial space that's fronting right on North Avenue, another 32,000 square feet of warehouse and light industrial space for local workforce development, job creation opportunities. And as great as that is for this community, and that's going to make a heck of a difference, we're also here today to make some larger and even more impactful announcements, which will foster an environment of economic opportunity, create thousands of new jobs, revitalize and literally transform communities and neighborhoods all across Maryland that need our help the most. For 4 years, our administration has been focused on growing the private sector, putting more people to work, and turning our economy around. And that is exactly what we have been doing. More businesses have been opened, and more people are working than ever before in the history of our state. Together with the legislature, we enacted our More Jobs for Marylanders Act to incentivize more job creation in places like Baltimore City. And thanks to the great work of Secretary Kelly Schultz and her team at the Department of Labor, she's now changing jobs, but she spent 4 years doing a great job as Secretary of Labor. We've been nationally recognized for our programs on workforce development, job training, and registered apprenticeships. At our Department of Commerce, we're spearheading innovative programs like the Partnership for Workforce Quality and the Maryland Economic Development Assistance Authority and Fund. At the Department of Housing and Community Development, Secretary Holt and his team are working to transform neighborhoods and revitalize communities with programs including the Strategic Demolition Fund, the Community Legacy and Neighborhood Business Works programs. We've invested in major downtown revitalization projects, not just here in Baltimore, but in Salisbury, Cumberland, Frederick, and cities and towns all across the state. We've funded historic restoration and economic development projects and provided critical infrastructure financing for renovation and construction projects from one end of the state to the other. And because of those efforts, we have ushered in a new era of revitalization and economic growth in Maryland. Now, I serve as the Vice Chair of the National Governors Association, and I will become the chairman of that association this summer. Last year, we held a session on the potential of the new Federal Opportunity Zone program. This exciting new initiative will provide federal tax incentives to encourage much-needed investment in distressed and underserved communities across America over the next decade. We worked hard and recently won approval for 149 Maryland Opportunity Zones, including 42 Opportunity Zones right here in Baltimore City, far more than any other jurisdiction. In fact, we're standing here today in one of those opportunity zones. We got 25 opportunity zones approved for Prince George's County, 7 in Wicomico, 3 in Garrett, 3 in Charles, and at least 1 opportunity zone has been approved in every single one of our 24 jurisdictions from one corner of the state to the other. Last summer, we held a Maryland Opportunity Zone Conference, the first state conference of its kind in America. We gathered all of the experts, all of the key stakeholders together to discuss how we could harness creativity and innovation to build partnerships that will ensure that Maryland's opportunity zones work effectively and profitably to really drive economic growth across our state. Providing federal capital gains tax incentives is a great start, but it may not be enough to ensure the revitalization of many of these neighborhoods and communities. So we plan to do everything in our power to utilize new and existing state and federal programs, grants and funding sources, and to have all of our state agencies work collaboratively with our county and municipal governments and the private sector to supercharge our Opportunity Zone revitalization. Our plan is to make Maryland's 149 Opportunity Zones the most competitive ones in America. Our goal is to give these communities, and more importantly, the citizens who live there, greater opportunities and more hope for a better future. So today, I am instituting an executive order to create the Maryland Opportunity Zone Leadership Council, which will be chaired by Lieutenant Governor Rutherford. They will be charged with developing a state opportunity plan that identifies goals for these 149 opportunity zones and identifies ways for the state to collaborate with local governments on state and local incentives and initiatives and ideas. We're also introducing the More Opportunities for Marylanders Act of 2019, which will allow businesses that locate or expand in a Maryland Opportunity Zone to receive a 10-year tax credit for each job they create. We will exempt 100% of their state property taxes. We will waive all business recording, filing, and special fees, and we will provide an additional $6 million in tax credits for job creation in our opportunity zones. In addition to attracting new businesses and jobs, we will also provide $3 million to establish a program called Opportunity Works, an exciting new job training program specifically for businesses that are located in opportunity zones. This will provide competitive grants for private sector workforce training programs to take advantage and to take advantage of Maryland's competitive strength in the life sciences and in the cybersecurity industry sectors. We're also announcing today the investment of $16 million to create the Maryland Technology Infrastructure Fund. This transformative new fund will be housed and staffed by TEDCO, the Maryland Technology Development Corporation, and will be led by state, university, and private sector leaders. They will be tasked with creating a long-term strategic vision and implementation plan designed to leverage more than $500 million in anticipated private sector investment over the next decade. We are taking steps to ensure that Maryland's 149 opportunity zones will be at the front of the line for these transformative technology infrastructure investments. And finally today, we are launching the Maryland Opportunity Zone Information Exchange, which is the first comprehensive interactive resource of its kind in the nation. It will serve as a virtual meeting place which will track the latest Opportunity Zone information data and investment opportunities and activity, where users will be able to locate projects and businesses in opportunity zones and receive information on all the various financial and other incentives available at the federal, state, and municipal levels. All of the major actions that we're taking today are continuing our focus on creating opportunities, putting people to work, and growing Maryland's economy. We are revitalizing and transforming Maryland's cities, towns, and local communities, and most importantly, we're renewing hope and providing opportunities for people in neighborhoods all across our state. Thank you.
Before I introduce Lieutenant Governor Rutherford, I'd like to also acknowledge Delegate Cheryl Glenn of the 45th District has joined us here also. At this time, we'll hear from Lieutenant Governor Rutherford.
Thank you, Kiefer. Good afternoon. You know, I want to thank Mayor Pugh for being here, along with all the elected officials, our cabinet secretaries, and distinguished guests. And of course, I want to thank Governor Hogan for bringing us here today, and particularly for your vision and leadership that has made the growth and vitality of every Maryland community a priority of our administration. And if you excuse me, I'm going to go off my script for a moment. I know the governor's probably saying, oh no. But he'll remember this, but a lot of people probably have not heard this story when he talked about Project CORE, that when we were campaigning in Baltimore 4.5, 5 years ago, when we could ride in a bus together, they don't let us ride together anymore. We started over in West Baltimore, some may remember, over in Rosedale area, riding through the city in East Baltimore, and the governor noticed the amount of vacancies that were in the city and said, there's something that we need to do about this when we become governor. And it was his vision that led to Project CORE. So I wanted to thank you, Governor, and I think he deserves an applause for that. See, it wasn't in my script. I even wrote off topic. But I want to thank you also for the opportunity to serve as the lead for the Maryland Opportunity Zone Leadership Task Force. This is truly an exciting endeavor, one of which I believe will truly make a difference in these communities and communities that are in most need. As the governor said, it's a tremendous opportunity. There's been tremendous growth, economic growth throughout Maryland over the last 4 years. But there are places in the state that have not done as well as the rest of the state. So the Opportunity Zone Leadership Task Force will be made up of state, local, academic, and industry leaders who will be tasked with conducting summits across the state and to allow local stakeholders to share information and discuss the possibilities for their opportunity zones. The task force will also create an online portal for members of the public to submit their recommendations. And the Leadership Task Force will use this information to develop a state opportunity plan, which the governor had mentioned, and will identify goals for the opportunity zones, provide recommendations for enhancing the zone incentives, as well as identifying ways that we can collaborate with local governments to be able to fast-track investment and development in these areas. In addition to the representatives from the departments here today, the cabinet-level departments, we also have members of that task force who will be coming from the State Department of Education, the Stadium Authority, the University System of Maryland, the Maryland Association of Community Colleges, the Maryland Association of Counties, the Maryland Municipal League, Maryland Economic Development Corporation, and the Maryland Technology Development Corporation. As you can see, it's a cast of thousands that are involved in this, but not quite a cast of thousands, but it's indicative of this multi-pronged, holistic approach that the administration is taking to truly lift up these opportunity zones and create positive, lasting, and meaningful change and opportunities for these communities. So I want to thank you again for being here and thank you for this opportunity. And thank you, Governor.
And before I introduce our mayor,